Hi guys, hi, how's it going? How you doing today? Hopefully today finds you well. Today I'm doing the next video in my palette roulette series in which I pick a palette in my collection. Might also be in your collection. I utilize it throughout the week and then I come back to you. I show you some pictures of looks I was able to create. We do some live swatches and I talk about my experiences with the palette. And then we pick another palette. This week we are actually doing 3 palettes, 2 of which are the Kat Von D from back in the day, Shade and Light Eye Quads, and then we are also doing the DANESSA MYRICKS Lightwork Volume 3, the Experience palette, and I cannot wait to talk to you about these palettes, so I hope that sounds like something you're interested in. For those of you new here, hi, my name is Donna. I'm a lover of all things high-end colorful beauty and self-care. I also work in the beauty industry as a field leader for Ulta, so I get a lot of education in my position. I like to bring you that education through things like reviews on my channel, but I also just kind of like to talk about makeup, and that is what I'm out here doing because I haven't got a soul in my life that wants to listen to me talk about it. And if you're here, I'm assuming that you also like talking about makeup, so you're here to listen to me talk about makeup. So with that said, I hope that you guys find that you love it as much as I love it here. I do have about 900 videos here on my channel, so I'm certain that you can find something that you love to binge watch, and I hope that you'll want to subscribe before you go. Let's roll into this palette roulette review video. Alrighty, hi, how's it going? I hope that you guys are in for it today because we do have 3 palettes to go over, but overall there's only 16 shades, so I think that we can get through this relatively quickly because even though there's 3 palettes, like I can review these 2 kind of quasi at the same time, and then the DANESSA MYRICKS one separately, which is how we're gonna do it. So these are the Kat Von D Shade and Light Eye Quads, and these are indeed Kat Von D. I did purchase them at TJ Maxx, I do believe, back when there was a transfer of her brand from Kat Von D to KVD, Vegan Beauty, Kendo, blah, 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 whatever it is now. The packaging was, at that point in time, needing to be changed because these still say Kat Von D on them. This is what the packaging of both of them look like. It is just like a black, really pretty, kind of like coffin-esque box, which was right up the alley of Kat Von D and how she kind of went about everything in her branding. Like, she was, bar none, one of the better packaging kind of people in her time. And it is a plastic quad box, and it does have like information on the back of each of the palettes as far as the shades in the palette go, but they are not named shades. They just say like contour, base, highlight, define. Those are the names of all 4 of the shades in each one of the palettes. I do have Plum and Rust. The Plum one looks like this. It is quasi like purples, right? I do have this palette on my eyes today. I have all 4 shades of this palette on my eyes today. And then this one is the Rust one, and I have this shade on my eyes today as well. Each one of these palettes is 4 shades. They are all matte, and they do contain 0.21 ounces of product. Not sure per pan because there are 2 different pan sizes in here. Initially, when these launched, they were $26 for 4 shades of eyeshadow. Again, the shades in each one of the quads are named for how they should be used on the eye, but obviously you can bounce around and do what you want to in an eyeshadow palette. You don't have to, you know, tell yourself that how they have it arranged for you is what is necessary for you to do to create a look. The Rust one is 4 shades of warm, rich neutrals. The Plum one is like grungy. This one is more of like a fall tone eye color quad. What I loved about these palettes is not only are they durable, you know, made of plastic, but they also have a nice mirror in them. So you can still see your whole eye area in this mirror, What I don't love about it is that it is, you know, it does have the decoration or the die cut around it. It does say Kat Von D on there. This says Kat Von D. Like, she loved her name a whole lot. That's what she made sure it was on every aspect of everything that she had out there. They're very, very pigmented. I think that they're both very, very blendable. I didn't find a whole lot of redundancy from one palette to the next, and when I looked at all of the palettes that used to come in this like shade and light eye quad range, there wasn't a whole lot of duplication between, I think there was a total of 7 eyeshadow palettes that were like this. There is still one that is for sale on Sephora, but it has 2 shimmers in it and 2 mattes in it, whereas these ones are all matte. There really isn't any fallout that I could ascertain from either one of these palettes. I was really pleasantly pleased with that, considering that they were super powdery in the pan. I mean, barely dipping your brush into them created quite a bit of dustiness in the pan, so I was curious about the amount of fallout that I would see on my face, but I didn't really have any kind of fallout with them, not even with the darker purple in this palette or the dark, you know, or the bright orange in this palette. I didn't see any kind of fallout. They are soft and smooth powders, and I feel like they performed the same whether I was wearing a primer or not. Today I do have a primer on. I think with a white-based primer, you're going to get a lot more poppiness out of the shades than, I mean, even this purple I don't feel like has a lot of poppiness to it, but with a white-based primer, you're obviously going to see a little more poppiness. But other than that, like there wasn't any kind of discrepancy between the performance or the blendability or the longevity of the shadow, whether I was wearing a primer or not. I would say that they're, like, performance-wise, they last a good long time. I didn't see any kind of fading or creasiness at all as late as 10 hours into wear. So I do think that these are really good shadows. I also think that they're set up quite nicely to do an all matte eye look. I did 2 all matte eye looks, one with each one of these palettes. I forgot to take a picture of either one of those, if I'm honest. I really liked the one that I got from this palette the best. This one, I feel like on blend, these 2 purples in the center look so much alike that it's really hard to decipher which is which in an eye look. And this one here is almost too deep to blend out the other one, and I would say also too gray to go too far up in an eye look. So this one wasn't my favorite of the 2. I really do think that this one provided a lot more dimension and variety. Even when I was going into an all matte eye look, I could get like 2 or 3 different all matte eye looks from that, and they weren't going to look the same. Whereas I feel like with this one, I could get 1 all matte eye look, and that is it. It didn't have the variety that I had received out of the other palette. With that said, let's go ahead and swatch them. So I'm just gonna go straight across the palette because there's no names. From the Plum palette, the first one is the base shade, which is a warm kind of baby pink. You can kind of see that as I turn my hand away. It is a really good base shade that isn't like flesh toned, right? Because everybody's got a different shade of flesh. So I love that they went in with a base tone that wasn't supposed to be a flesh tone color for this one. Then we have Define, which is a neutral, like dark plum. This one did have a little bit of fallout, but not a lot of fallout. It was a nice deep-ish color that you could count on to deepen up any eye look. Then we have this one, which was considered the contour color. It is a cool toned mauve, whereas I think that the plummy shade is more of a neutral. I think that having a kind of neutralized dark plum really helped out the palette. And then we have this one, which is the highlight shade, and it is a cool toned pink, almost white, and it's kind of got this satiny feel out of it. I say this about all satins. I think that they perform very well as a matte and an eye look. I wore this as my inner corner and brow bone highlight so often over this last couple weeks. I really love that shade. Okay, then we have the Rust shadow palette, and we have the base shade, which is a kind of a cool tone peach. Again, they went with a shade that's not really supposed to be a flesh toned shade, and I really like that because, again, there's more than just, you know, one tone of flesh. Then we have the defined shade, which is a warm mid-tone brown. Then we have the contour shade, which is a warm, like, terracotta orange. Then we have the highlight shade, which is a warmish beige. Again, more satin than the other ones in the palette, but still a really beautiful beige tone and functions very well for blending out other shadows. More like a matte in an eye look, but it also was a beautiful like inner corner brow bone shade. I just preferred the cool toned of this more than I preferred the warm toned of that, which is weird because that's honestly how I'm looking at all things overall in my eyeshadow collection. I'm finding that I'm gearing more cool tone than warm tone these days, which is not how I would have explained my preferences, you know, 3 years ago or even 8 months ago, to be honest. These are the shades in those two Quads by Kat Von D. I know that you can't really wholeheartedly see the base shades very well, but I think that helped with the appeal of using them because they didn't really show up. They were great for blending out colors within the palette without creating a bunch of, you know, color variation that you didn't want in your eyeshadow look. They were great to have in both of the palettes, but I also really, really loved that they weren't necessarily a flesh-toned base shadow. Those are no longer for sale except for the one that I said that you could still pick up on Sephora with the two shimmers and the two mattes. I think that you can get really good matte shadows from a drugstore brand for a whole lot cheaper than $26 that are going to work just as well as these ones did. I don't think that these are anything to write home about. They blend out really nicely, but it took a lot of effort for me to lighten an eye look if I went too far with them. I will be keeping these in my collection, but I don't think that they would be something that I would say run out and purchase. I do think that if I ever lost them in my collection, it wouldn't be a big deal, if I'm honest. Then we have the DANESSA MYRICKS Lightwork Volume 3 palette. This is the Experience palette, and this is what it looks like on the front. It reminds me of like the spirographs. Did you guys ever play with those as kids? Somebody took a spirograph and just went to town making this design. It is raised and beveled in certain areas, so it's very tactile. It feels very neat on your fingers, like if you're a texture person. It does say DM and then DANESSA MYRICKS Beauty right underneath it, and that is kind of indented into the palette, and then it's got the information about what this palette is, and then as you turn it over, it's got a sticker on the back that has all the information about the shades, and it's got information about the palette in 4 different languages: English, French, Italian, and Espanol. It does say that it is, you know, it does have a 12-month shelf life on here. It doesn't have a sticker for whether it's cruelty-free or vegan, but when I did look it up, I did see that it is vegan, it is cruelty-free, and it is a gluten-free item. It is listed as the Experience Eye and Face palette, and that immediately made me think that there was something in here that was not made for eye use when it says eye and face palette or just shadow palette. You immediately go to something in there is not safe for eyes, and that isn't the case. I didn't see that anywhere in any of the information that I found on this palette. It's not listed on this palette anywhere, so I have to assume that all the shadows in here are very safe for your eyes as well. So this is what the inside of the palette looks like. It does have a mirror on it. I haven't taken the like little mirror saver off of there. But this is a multi-chrome palette. I know that you can see kind of the shiftiness in this shade here. You can kind of see shiftiness in this shade here as well. I think that you can see it shifting as I move the palette. Ooh, look at that one right there as I move this palette around. Yeah, I hope that you guys are getting that. I hope that you saw it shift like it did. This is a gorgeous palette and it is an investment. So let's just start there. DANESSA MYRICKS Mini Lightwork Volume 3, The Experience Eye and Face Palette. Comes with 8 shades, is vegan, cruelty-free, and gluten-free. Each one of these pans has 0.04 ounces in it, and it is a limited edition palette. It comes in at 4.6 stars on Sephora with 35 reviews, 4.8 stars on DANESSA MYRICKS with 62 reviews, and 5 stars on Beauty Bay with 3 reviews. And these are the top 8 multi-chrome shades that the brand has, which is why they put this palette together, and it is $85. Yes, $85. I pay for everything with my own money. I do not make a dime on this channel. I just do it for the love of everything that I'm doing out here. I paid for this palette, and I firmly believe that if this is the only way that you can get a hold of a multi-chrome, this is a good investment. I am not sad that I purchased this palette. I am even not sad that I spent $85 on it. Granted, I did get it in the, I want to say in the last, not the last like November this year, but the last like April-ish time frame Sephora sale that went on, and I am Rouge, so I got a 20% discount. I'm not sad that I spent the money on this palette. I do have these 2 shades right here in my eye look today. This one is in my inner corner towards the center of my eye, and this one is centered towards outer third. And man, I just love this palette. I wore, you know, one of these shades as a put all over my lid shade and then walk out the door with that on my face a couple of times this last week. I didn't take pictures of that because just it wasn't an intricate eye look. It looked really silly me taking a picture because it only like shifts in certain lights, so trying to get it to shift so I could take a picture was just stupid. I couldn't get it done. This is 8 multi-chrome shadows, and there are 4 different kind of formulations of her multi-chromes in this palette. There is one Duochrome gel, which is this guy here. And the Duochrome gel is a luxurious, like creamy silicone, luxurious like spotlighter. So I used this most often to tap into certain areas. You can see that there's no base. It just kind of looks like a wet part of my hand right there that's got like maybe some chartreuse shadow on it. It is so pretty, but you can see in here it looks kind of white to pink, and then on my hand it looks green. So pretty. This is one of the shadows that I used most often as a one and done eyeshadow look. Look, I just accidentally got it on here too, and it's like super green gold there. Oh my god, it's so pretty. I love that shadow. So that is the Duochrome gel. There is one holographic powder, and the holographic powder is this one here called Strawberry Moon. It is a semi-translucent, like reflective, prismatic color. So it looks like white, maybe a little bit purple, maybe, and it is what is on the inner portion of my eye. This is what that one looks like. Again, not really a base as the light hits it. There is like this shift to pink or lilac. It is considered, what is that? Strawberry Moon is considered a like iridescent pink lilac hollow. And then we also have this one, which is a powder cream. So powder cream, this one is called Soul. Powder cream is more of a like hybrid of a powder and a cream, kind of like a cream to powder thought process. I don't know that I think that this functions much like many of the other cream to powders that I've tried, but this one looks like this. And if I am honest with you, this one is the one I had the most trouble with. I did not like this formula, and I was really happy that there was only one in this palette. This one is kind of like a khaki gold. It doesn't really have a whole lot of shiftiness to it. It's a very soft shift if there is a shift to it. And then the rest of them, so the other 5, are all multi-chrome pigments. So they are a powder, but they're a very velvety powder. So I'm just gonna swatch these 2, and then I'm gonna swatch these 3. Galaxy here and Martian here. I mean, look at how beautiful those are. Galaxy is this one here, and it's got like a purple green shiftiness. Holy Toledo, it's so pretty. And then we have Martian. Martian has like this purple, blue, green. Oh god, it is kind of an icy green to a lilac, and you can't really see them. I'm gonna try and take a video with my phone so that you guys can see a little bit more of the shift. So then we have this one, which is called Aurora, this one called Gaia, and this one called Solar Rain. And that is what those 3 look like. So Aurora is an electric plum to olive, and I loved the like olive shift of it because it made it a little bit more cool toned than warm toned. And then we have this one, which is called Gaia, and it is a bronze to emerald green multi-chrome. And this one is called Solar Rain, and it is a peachy like pearl to like a platinum. It's got like, do you see like kind of this like silver streakiness to it? I don't know. I don't think that swatches do multi-chromes justice ever. I really don't. I'm gonna try and put a video in here of me like moving this hand around so that you can see the swatches better. It is an experience and it also is exceptional. And I also am happy to have it, and I also do not regret the amount of money that I spent on this palette. But with that said, I do believe that I had all of these, maybe not the same formulas, because in my Cliona shadows, I don't have any of this one, right? Which is kind of a cream that DANESSA MYRICKS has in this palette. But I do have plenty of multi-chromes from Cliona that I love and that I wouldn't trade for the world, and that I think might be as good as, if not maybe a smidge bit better than this. I love this though, do not get me wrong, and it's so much more convenient to have them in something like this than it is to have them in a singles palette where I've got all 17 in there and they're all crammed in. So I'm really happy to have this palette. Would I repurchase this? 100%. 100%. Does it make me want the other one more? 100%. But I also know that the other one, I haven't tried any of those like specialty like flaky ones on, and I really do firmly feel like that would piss me off. So that's why I haven't, but I'm really happy to buy this one. I'm really happy to have this one in my collection. This one launched in this last few months. It is a limited edition item. I'm not telling you that you have to go out and buy it, but what I am saying is if it's something that you have been contemplating, I know that right now Sephora has 20% off for everybody. I can't remember what date it's through, but I would say if you're looking to purchase it, now is the time. Just saying. So I love it. I will look out for more DANESSA MYRICKS like multi-chrome type shadows. I'm not unhappy that I have it. What I would say is the multi-chrome pigments I really firmly expected to have a lot of fallout from, and I didn't really get any kind of fallout from them. I was actually pretty shocked with how long some of these lasted on my eyes, where without creasing or without like movement or without, you know, voiding. I do think that you have to have the exact right primer on underneath them or they will crease, because I did use the same shadow in other eye looks and found it to crease and void and just kind of blank out on my lids after a certain amount of hours. I don't think that the wear time on these is much longer than a good like 7 hours. So if you're planning on a 10-hour day or a super long event, these are not the eyeshadows for you, which is why I said I think that Cliona's might be better, because I do think that Cliona's last that 10 hours, if I remember correctly from just utilizing them in my single shadow extravaganza all through September, but also just using them, period. So I do think that they last longer. I also do not think that Cliona shadows have to have a very, very strategic minded base to them for them not to crease and fall off the eye. Whereas I feel like this one, you have to have a very strategic base thought process going in before doing your eyes, like either a glitter glue of some sort or a really dry eyeshadow formula or eyeshadow primer formula. So like put on a cream and then set it. I never set my eyeshadow base, but I found that I had to with these ones in order to get the longevity that I wanted. I do have a picture of an eye look that I created with a set base. That picture is from, 12 hours in. I was just taking my makeup off and it looked so good. And that set me up for failure, because the next day I tried it without a base, expecting 12 hours wear, and got back to my hotel room after 7 hours and was like, oh, my eyes look like poop. I just learned very quickly that I needed to finagle or finesse in a certain way for these to last as long as I needed them to on my eye. I do think they're wonderful and I will continue to use them, and I am not unhappy with my purchase, but I do think that you have to be very strategic about how you're going about wearing an eye look with these eyeshadows on your eyes. With that said, we are going to pick another palette. I'll be right back. Okay, I think the next two palettes that I'm going to pull in are the Persona Identity 2 palette. This is what the packaging looks like. This will be the first time I will have tried a Persona product, and I'm kind of excited about it. Kelly Gooch talks nonstop about this palette, so or maybe it's the Identity one, but this brand specifically Kelly Gooch talks about nonstop. So I'm excited to use this. I feel like it's a good palette. It looks like even the shimmers in here might be a little more satiny, so I feel like I've got a good, baseline of mattes that I can pull from, or satins that can be mattes that I can pull from. And I think that this palette will go quite well actually with that one. And this is the Desert Lights palette by Flower Beauty. I have the Jungle Lights one and I love it. So I did purchase this one. They never come in one piece. Like this shade right here is broken in this palette and I pressed it back in. So I will be using these two palettes over the next couple weeks. I think that I have really been loving coming back to you guys after a couple of weeks. I have a lot more eye looks to share with you and a good bit more information as far as my thoughts and feelings on the palettes. So I will talk to you guys probably right before Christmas about these two palettes. Those are the two palettes that I'll be using over the next couple weeks. I hope that you guys are interested in hearing my thoughts on those, but what are your thoughts on the three palettes that I reviewed today? I would especially be interested to hear if you have any of the Kat Von D Shade and Light Contour eye palettes and what your thoughts are on those. But like legit, do you have this palette? If you do, this one by DANESSA MYRICKS or anyone by DANESSA MYRICKS, please let me know what your thoughts are. I would definitely be interested to hear from you guys down in the comments section, so hit me up down there. I hope that you and yours are well. I hope that you guys are healthy and safe and getting along as best you can. And I hope that you are loving each other, but loving each other from afar. And staying warm out there, because it's damn cold here. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate you. And until next time, bye friends.